It's midnight here in Algiers. You're watching World News program on All 24 News. I'm Karim Zachary, your host for tonight. Coming up next. Zionist airstrikes hit Jabali al-Balad, claiming dozens of lives, while another tragedy in the heart of Gaza claims 40 more people. This comes amid UN warning of famine's growing threat, highlighting the real danger of death by starvation. And occupation forces acknowledged the loss of 14 officers and soldiers in Gaza within 24 hours, and Palestinian resistance claims the neutralization of 6 Zionist soldiers in Gaza and announcing successful targeting of Zionist tanks, vehicles and bulldozers in Jabalia. Also ahead, global protest intensify in solidarity with Palestine, and in Morocco, thousands marched through Rabat condemning Zionist aggression and demanding an end to normalization with the Zionist entity. And amid growing global opposition to Morocco's bid for the UN Human Rights Council presidency, investigations reveal the involvement of prominent political and sports figures near the royal palace in the Mahsen, planned to flood the Sahel with drugs. Hello again and welcome to the program. First, an in-depth look at the unfortunate events in the occupied Palestinian territories. Dozens of Palestinians were killed in a Zionist bombing in northern Gaza using smoke and phosphorus bombs. Clashes and heavy artillery followed, hindering medical aid. A Rafai school was stormed, and in central Gaza, 40 Palestinians died as homes were bombed. Raids in Deir al-Balah and al-Zuwaida also claimed many lives. In the south, continuous bombings in Khan Yunis killed 19, including casualties in the Japanese quarter. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reported a staggering toll, with 166 Palestinians killed and 384 injured in the past 24 hours. The overall figures from the Zionist aggression now stands at 20,424 martyrs and 54,036 injured in the besieged Gaza Strip. The situation remains dire, demanding urgent international attention. Still with the unfortunate unfolding events in Gaza, thousands of Palestinians confront the imminent dangers of hunger and thirst amidst ongoing genocide crimes. The United States raises alarm about the escalating threat of a catastrophic famine, emphasizing that 4 out of every 5 of the world's hungriest people reside in the besieged Gaza Strip. Here's Salma Nasib with the report.
In the Gaza Strip, the scars of ongoing tragedy cut deep, and the resilient population grapples with heart-wrenching trials, from meager access to essentials to the relentless pangs of hunger. In this humanitarian battleground, the people's lifeline hangs by a slender thread of charity.
We cook about 35 cauldrons of porridge almost every day for the 9 temporary shelters in the area, feeding about 2,500 families, each with 7 to 10 members on average. Due to the ongoing conflict, it's difficult to get food supplies in Gaza.
بسبب صعوبة وجود المواد الغذائية في قطاع غزة.
Amidst the haunting crisis, Anwar al-Gouthi, a volunteer mobilized with his companions, have stepped in to feed over 2,500 displaced families. Yet, their noble endeavors fall against a backdrop of scarcity, a direct consequence of aid shortages and the relentless onslaught of the Zionist genocide.
وغير هيك بشكل عام هذه التكية ما بتكفيش.
The food here is far from enough to feed so large number of people. I got my food today, but sometimes I'm not so lucky. The number of displaced people continues to increase, and the situation is becoming more difficult every passing minute.
مرق بتبقى أصعب من الدقيقة اللي قبلها.
Here in the Gaza Strip, the cruel hunger has become an unwelcome partner for the residents, an inviting guest that refuses to leave. Daily sustenance becomes a distant dream as the influx of people seeking refuge in shelters surges, doubling the challenges faced by those already grappling with scarcity.
I've been waiting for a long time and I still don't have any food. Maybe today we will starve to death.
Anwar al-Ghouthi's valiant efforts, though praiseworthy, fall short in the face of the soaring demands of the displaced families. Disappointment creeps into the tents, as some return empty-handed after enduring long, weary hours of anticipation. Local charities, in the face of hard challenges, fight an uphill battle to bridge the gap between supply and demand. Their unwavering dedication becomes the foundation upon which the shattered hopes of a population, torn by the ravages of genocide, find a fragile foothold.
The toll of martyred journalists in Gaza has reached 103 since the onset of the Zionist aggression. On Sunday, the government media office reported the death of Ahmed al-Madoun, deputy director of the Palestinian Al-Ra'yi agency. He was killed in a Zionist bombing in the northern Gaza governorate, highlighting the perilous conditions journalists face in the conflict zone. UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, revealed a devastating toll, with 142 of its staff members killed since the beginning of the Zionist aggression in Gaza. The majority of these killings occurred as they were with their families in the besieged Gaza Strip. The agency shared this tragic update in a post on the X platform, underscoring the severe impact of the conflict on humanitarian workers. In the Gaza Strip, Zionist occupation forces acknowledged the death of 8 officers and soldiers during battles, bringing the total to 156 since the start of the ground aggression. Palestinian resistance, led by Al-Qassam brigades, neutralized 6 soldiers and targeted 3 Merkava tanks. Video scenes show clashes and equipment looted by the resistance. The conflict has resulted in a total of 485 deaths among the occupation forces. Additionally, the resistance published videos of targeting Zionist vehicles and bulldozers in the southern Gaza Strip. Since the onset of Zionist aggression on October 7th, the Zionist occupation forces have detained 4,695 Palestinians from the West Bank, including those arrested from homes and at military checkpoints. The arrests involve individuals who surrendered themselves under pressure and those held hostage. The Prisoners Club and the Prisoners and Ex-Prisoners Affairs Authority reported widespread abuse, severe beatings, field investigations, threats against detainees and their families, and the destruction of Palestinian homes, along with the seizure of property during these arrest campaigns. Protest in solidarity with Palestine and condemnation of Zionist crimes persists worldwide. In Rabat, for example, the Moroccan Front for Palestine organized a protest demanding the closure of the Zionist liaison office. Across various U.S. cities as well, activists rallied against American military support for the Zionist entity. Similar calls for a ceasefire resonated in Pakistan. For a comprehensive update, let's turn to Sofian Kinturi now.
Across the globe, chorus of voices refuses to be silenced. Daily demonstrators take to the streets, united in their call for an end to the ongoing genocide and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. In American cities, thousands of heated activists, human rights advocates, and members of unions joined massive marches. Their collective demand is to halt the unwavering U.S. military support to Zionist entity, a support seen by many as perpetuating a circle of violence.
We are driven by a love of humanity.
In the Pakistani capital, Karachi, the streets pulsate with solidarity. Thousands of demonstrators raise their voices against the backdrop of ongoing Zionist aggression in Gaza. Palestinian flags wave as slogans denouncing the oppressive entity fill the air. Frustration resonates, not only against the aggressor, but also towards the global response, including the negative role played by some Muslim countries.
It is a question for all the nations of the world to ponder. Thousands of children have been killed. More than 21,000 people have been killed. Millions have been displaced from their homes. What is the US doing? What is Europe doing? What is the UN doing? They are not playing the role. These big powers are responsible for the lawlessness in the world.
From the streets of Rabat to the doorstep of the parliament building, the people of Morocco rise in solidarity. Tens of thousands march, a sea of voices condemning the crimes of the Zionist occupation against Palestinians. Their collective demand resonates, the abolition of normalization between the Makhzen and the Zionist entity.
All these demonstrations and marches organized worldwide, and especially this one in Morocco, aims to raise awareness of the situation of the Palestinians. But we need to move on the other stages of support to another dynamic that will leave more than an impact than the support march, and to stop this Holocaust and genocide against the Palestinian people.
Thousands of Moroccans have been out on the street since October 7th to say one word, which is the Moroccan people want to abolish normalization with the Zionist entity.
As the Zionist aggression continues its devastating sweep through parts of the Gaza Strip, the toll on human lives reaches staggering proportions. Roughly 20,400 Palestinians killed, and nearly 85% of Gaza's 2.3 million people displaced. The protest organizers emphasize sad truth. Silence in any form is equal to complicity, an unspoken endorsement of further crimes that global opinion refuses to accept.
And in a different story, the Minister of Algerian Foreign Affairs received on Sunday at the ministry headquarters relatives of the Algerian diaspora present in Gaza who presented their concerns about the repatriation operation of their relatives blocked in the Strip. In this meeting, the Foreign Affairs Minister stated that all the relevant procedures had been taken to carry out the repatriation in the best conditions, in application of the instructions of the country's high authorities. In other news, the United States reported the downing of 4 drones in the southern Red Sea on Sunday. The U.S. Central Command, in a post on the X platform, revealed that the drones were heading towards an American destroyer, marking the 14th and 15th attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea region. The U.S. Naval Forces Central Command responded to distress calls from 2 attacked ships, a chemical and oil tanker flying the Norwegian flag, and a crude oil tanker owned by Gabon flying the Indian flag. And in this context, Iran's foreign minister has denied allegations that the country is supporting Yemen's Houthis in attacking commercial ships in the Red Sea. The minister warned of the safety of the waterway would remain compromised as long as the Zionist entity continues in its offensive in Gaza.
Regarding the issue of the coalition in the Red Sea, I think the Americans, before trying to create a coalition that will not help the situation, should stop the genocide, the war crimes, the human siege, the forced displacement of Gaza residents, and the future dream of Israel's fake regime to move them to areas in Egypt and Jordan. Yemen has officially declared its position. Its official spokesman of its government repeats their actions daily. This is really and completely a Yemeni move in support of Gaza, and this American accusation about involvement in the recent Navy attack is a baseless accusation against the Islamic Republic.
To other topical national news now, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune on Sunday signed the 2024 finance bill into law that forecasts 4.2% growth in the national economy. The signing ceremony took place at the presidential headquarters with the presence of senior state officials. The bill adopted by the two houses of parliament early this month made the growth forecast based on the performances across sectors, notably services, agriculture, building and public works, as well as industry. And earlier, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune chaired a cabinet meeting to discuss various issues, including the supplementary program for Tindouf laws and compensation systems for different professional sectors. The government is also focusing on digitizing state services. President Tebboune ordered a study for a free trade zone with Mauritania, highlighting its economic potential. The Council of Ministers approved as well the Tindouf program, while decisions on laws for private wires were postponed. President Tebboune urged the review and enhancement of regulations for education, healthcare, and religious sectors, emphasizing retroactive effects from January. To some regional news now. In Tunisia, vote counting continues following the closure of polling stations in the local elections. The elections spanned 8,190 polling stations across 2,155 electoral districts, aiming to establish 279 councils, forming the basis for regional and national councils, including the National Council of Regions and the Second Chamber of Parliament. The voter turnout rate for the first round stood at 11.66%. On the occasion, Tunisian President Kais Saied described the local elections as a historic day in building a new Tunisia. He welcomed the return of the Second Chamber, emphasizing its closeness to citizens and its role in achieving integration among different segments of the population.
اليوم نحن نبني بناء جديدا.
Today, we're constructing new institutions aligned with people's expectations, recognizing them as the true holders of power. The National Council of Regions and Districts, as the Assembly of People's Representatives, is accountable to voters who can withdraw their confidence at any point during the electoral mandate. With abundant resources, we're creating cohesive and harmonious structures that reflect the ongoing revolution and global progress. This historic experiment empowers the marginalized, transforming them from mere ballot papers on election day into active decision makers shaping the development of law.
عدد الجملي للمقترعين اليوم الساعة 6.
The total number of voters today at 6 o'clock is 1,099,004. This number is displayed on the boxes. As you can see on the screen, these are Tunisians who are present today and have cast more than 1 million votes. This is a respectable number, and they are thanked for their efforts and expression of their free will in choosing their representatives.
To a different story, a major scandal has rocked Morocco, implicating high-ranking officials with close ties to Mohammed VI, including the president of Wydad Club, associate with Moroccan Football Federation President Fawzi Lakja, and Wajda Council head. A total of 26 officials, part of the Escobar Africa Network, face allegations of involvement in transcontinental crime. The international press exposed the case, revealing Morocco's role in using drug networks to destabilize African Sahel countries. Rabat was compelled to arrest these officials, who are accused of exploiting their positions and proximity to the throne to protect the infamous African drug dealer Haj Ahmed Ben Ibrahim, known to have Moroccan financial assets. Still with Morocco, the international campaign opposing the country's candidacy for the presidency of the UN Human Rights Council has gained momentum in a virtual symposium organized by Sahrawi civil society activists. Participants highlighted the expansion of human rights violations by the Moroccan occupation. They emphasized that Morocco's bid for the presidency is seen as both an insult to the international system and a disregard for universal principles of human rights. The campaign aims to shed light on the ongoing human rights concerns associated with the Moroccan occupation.
Morocco cannot hold the presidency of a Human Rights Council due to its very dark human rights record. Morocco has been committing crimes for 5 decades in Western Sahara, flagrantly violating human rights under international law, and even committing war crimes.
Still with regional news, on Sunday, the head of the Libyan Presidential Council, Mohammed Takala, reiterated his commitment to an open-door policy for any national dialogue that upholds the principles of the country's unity and independence. In a video speech marking the 72nd anniversary of Libya's independence, broadcast on the Council's official Facebook page, Takala emphasized the need for a national project that advocates freedom, social justice, comprehensive reconciliation, a civil state, the rule of law, a constitution, and a fair judiciary. This, he believes, is crucial for ensuring Libya's stability and prosperity.
Our country today is in dire need of a national project that believes in freedom, social justice, national reconciliation, and civil state, a rule of law, the constitution, and fair judiciary. This is the path to stability and prosperity. Building on these principles, the Supreme Council of State adopts an open-door policy for any national dialogue, with its precedents being the unity and independence of the country and the preservation of the democratic path of state.
For more stories making headlines around the globe, let's turn now to Islamsit.
The UN support mission urged Libyan parties to create conditions for successful elections, emphasizing the electoral laws alone are not sufficient. The mission renewed its commitment to facilitating upcoming dialogues for elections. The Somali Ministry of Defense reported the killing of 130 members of Al-Shabaab movement during recent military operations. The army, with local and international support, confiscated weapons, destroyed terrorist sites in central and southern country. Ukraine announced the downing of 14 Russian drones south of the country. The Ukrainian Air Force were able to target the drones, which were launched from the eastern coast of the Sea of Azov. Meanwhile, in Serbia, opposition supporters faced tear gas from police preventing entry to the city council building amid protests over alleged election irregularities which the country's populist authorities have denied, and Serbian president called those claims blatant lies promoted by the political opposition. The first Palestinian football team concluded preparatory training in Algeria for the Asian Nations Cup in Qatar next year. They expressed appreciation for the conditions during training, including friendly matches against local teams. The team will face the UAE, Iran, and Hong Kong in the tournament between January 12 and February 10.
Well, with this, our program draws to a close. From me, Karim Fazakri, and from all 24 News team, thank you for tuning in. And for more news, you can always visit our social media platforms. Until next time, good night and take care.